Nuclear energy was introduced in the US as a government project in 1945, following the Manhattan Project for the wartime atomic bomb. In December of 1951, nuclear energy was turned into civilian use for electricity. Although nuclear energy is developed in the private sector, the US government is more involved in commercial nuclear energy than any other industry, overseeing the construction and operation of reactors, conversion, enrichment, fuel fabrication, and mining facilities. Since the late 1990s, US government policies were created to fund and encourage greater civilian nuclear capacity. The Energy Policy Act of 2005 created incentives for domestic nuclear power industry. The Department of Energy is responsible for policy, funding, and research of nuclear power. The department guarantees loans covering up to 80% of costs for new clean energy projects, including advanced nuclear power plants. Nuclear energy is formed from unstable radioactive uranium-235 isotopes, splitting in a process called nuclear fission.
The atoms of uranium undergo a controlled chain reaction which emits heat. Pressurized water around the reactor vessel is heated and circulated through pipes in a steam generator, which produces water vapor that spins a turbine attached to a generator.
The costs of nuclear energy can be divided up into three sections: capital costs, operating costs, and external costs. Nuclear power plants have been deferred and denied by many states, as it's been known to require a very large amount of capital before any benefits are seen.
Without a tax or a cap on carbon emissions, matching the cost of fossil fuels will likely be an impossible order for these new nuclear designs.
Fuel, maintenance, and waste removal account for the majority of operation costs.
Spent nuclear fuel is not only radioactive, but also contains extremely poisonous chemical elements like plutonium.
Don't kid yourself, though. In California alone, the production of solar panels makes over 13 million tons of toxic waste annually. And that's just stored somewhere, too. There's no such thing as a free lunch.
By contrast, the waste that we don't control from energy production, we call it pollution, and it kills 7 million people a year, and it's threatening very serious levels of global warming.
Unlike fossil fuels, however, it's generally assumed that external costs of a nuclear power plant will be equal to zero, unless, of course, a disaster were to occur.
In 2011, a 9.0 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Japan caused a tsunami that hit the Fukushima nuclear plant. Damage from the tsunami led to a failure in the plant's cooling system, causing explosions that spread radiation all over the area.
Worries about waste, weapons proliferation, and safety nearly derailed nuclear energy in the past.
Nuclear energy has four main benefits that distinguishes itself from most other sources of energy production. These benefits include eco-friendliness, reliability, portability, all at a cheap operational cost. The term eco-friendliness may have shocked you. How can nuclear energy possibly be eco-friendly?
Nuclear energy is arguably way less harmful to the environment in terms of climate change than fossil fuels, our main source of energy. Since 1976, about 64 gigatons of greenhouse gas emissions have not been pumped out thanks to nuclear energy. A study conducted by NASA found that nuclear energy has prevented around 1.8 million deaths. Even if you include the death tolls from Chernobyl and Fukushima, nuclear energy ranks last in death per energy unit produced.
In terms of reliability, portability, and cheap operational costs, unlike solar and wind energy, nuclear energy can be produced in virtually any weather condition.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. During a year, a single plant can provide power 92% of the time.
Natural uranium requires approximately 1/40th of the raw materials needed for oil-based energy. It can be bought for less than half the price, at about 44%. There are many different policies regarding nuclear energy that could help slow down climate change drastically. There could be a tax incentive on energy companies to move to a more nuclear-heavy energy supply. The government could help fund the construction of these costly plants. One last approach, which seems to be the most simple, would be to put a heavier tax on high-emission forms of energy, such as coal and gas, incentivizing energy companies to switch to a renewable energy source such as nuclear energy.